brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. This is a transfer call-in show, Kev. We've never done one of these before.
No, what could possibly go wrong there?
Oh, absolutely everything. Normally, a few things go wrong. Normally, a few things go wrong when I'm in charge. We don't end the show properly. We're still talking in the background while we're still live. But you're
absolutely.
Look, I'm joined by Kev. Obviously, always great to be on with Kev. A lot of talk going on about transfers or lack thereof over the last couple of days. I see a few people in the chat already from the Telegram. There's been a lot of activity going on in the Telegram. So no doubt we'll probably get some callers in. As long as one of them isn't Shawnee Lawson, we should have a smooth night. Kev, what do you think?
It's going to be fun. Listen, I mean, I threw a bombshell into a pipe bomb into the Telegram chat earlier on and just walked away, to be honest. But I put in a picture of the 5 strikers that we currently have at the club and asked, who would you start at the start of the season for your front 3? And who would you start in the Europa League final, assuming we get to the Europa League final in May? So a bit like fantasy football type thing. I swear to God, I walked away. I come back half an hour later, and there was about 80 notifications, and I was like, "What the hell's going on here?" But it goes to show, I suppose, when you look at it, it's nice to have legitimate options in all 3 positions with 5 players who you would feel comfortable in any of the 5 starting against Chelsea in the first game of the season and the last game of the season, because anything can happen. We don't have that depth elsewhere, but we are where we are. And there's no point in heads falling off because it's not going to achieve anything. We're not selecting transfers. We're not selecting players. We're not doing negotiations. And when the window closes, whatever team we have, that's the team we're going to support until the end of the season. Get bitch and moan about it, but it's not going to achieve anything. So there's no point in getting head up about it, to be honest. That's why I don't get the heads falling off stuff. Is I get frustrated and angry with the best of them. And when the players that we had were sold, I was like, what the fuck's going on here? What's the plan? And we're a week on, and we're like, there's still no one in the door. But then you look at the logistics of it, they're all out in Singapore. Just for example, you go and slap 50 million down, or 60 million now is barely what Southampton are after for Lavia. What you got to do? Go and have a cup of tea with Carol and Caroline and wait for the boys to come back. You know, after he does his medical, he's like, go and have some apple tart and bit of cream and chin wag with the girls and wait. There's an awful lot goes into these deals, and it's not a case of like, you know, I want that player, that's the money, sign the contract, do the medical, it's done. It doesn't happen like that. Even you look at the Man City one with Riyad Mahrez, you know, the noise around Riyad Mahrez started going to Saudi Arabia about a month ago. It only just got completed. You know, it's like where we are at the minute. I've got this window open here. So far in this window, we brought in the 2 players that we know about. We spent 112 million euro. Now, that puts us on par of transfer money spent on players. About par with everyone bar Arsenal for the amount of money spent on transfers. Not volume of players. Chelsea have brought in 5 players, spent 139 million euro, recouped 253 million euro after selling 13 players. But as it stands at the minute, we're about par. except for Arsenal. Arsenal are the one club who have they've lumped the kitchen sink on this transfer window. You know, they're in a situation now where they've spent 231.6 million euro on 3 players. And with that level of spending added to what they've spent in the previous 4 windows over the last 2 years, they have to be, I mean, I don't know about you, they have to be winning something this season. Where we are, but we've talked about us to the nth degree, but everyone else is spending and strengthening as well. So, you know, the season starts, Charity Shield's this weekend, and the season starts in a week. So, where do you think sides are? Because I don't think anyone is done.
I've said it a few times, and people pointed out that how rich Kroenke is. Well, I mean, you could have the richest owner in the world. You still apparently have to adhere to FFP. Yet to be seen. But I think Arsenal are. I think they're playing a very dangerous game with the amount that they've spent and the contracts that they're putting players on. So, I mean, I think Jesus is out now, is he? For, did they say 4 to 6 weeks?
4 to 6 weeks, I think. He's had a minor operation on his knee, so.
But up until this summer, he was the highest earner at Arsenal at 265,000 a week. Then they go and put Saka on 288. Then they go and put Havertz apparently on 350. I'm not 100% sure. That was bandied about.
Give or take.
You've got Martinelli on 180 grand. Saliba, I don't think it was released, but he's in and around about 200. Probably their best player is Odegaard, and I'm not sure whether he got a new contract, but he is. And I hate saying this when we're discussing salaries. He's only on 115,000 a week. God love him.
Bless him, the poor child.
But I think they're playing really, really dangerous game because, like you said there, and Rice, of course. He's minimum, I'd say, 250. So I think we've got 2 players above 200,000, if I'm not mistaken. Salah and Van Dijk. I think Henderson was on 200, but obviously he's gone. That's a ridiculous amount of money. I know that they're a rich club, and Kroenke's a rich owner. However, if they don't perform, if they don't go and win something of note, not a League Cup, they need to be winning. Even an FA Cup, I wonder is even an FA Cup at this stage. They need to be winning the Champions League or the league. And if they don't, and if they end up with a lot of unhappy players, who's actually taking them for the wages that they're on? I thought they would have learned their lesson with Ozil and Aubameyang, but they don't seem to have. Look, as much as you'll have people's opinions on FSG and not getting deals, I think we've the second highest wage bill, but like I've just said, we don't pay astronomical wages, base salaries. United have been the worst at it. I think is Rashford on 350 or something like that. I think De Gea was ridiculous. On 375. You had Pogba, who would have been on similar as well. You've Sancho, who's sitting on similar. And regardless of whether they win, lose, or draw, regardless of whether they play, regardless of whether they're actually with the team or they're at NBA games injured, they're still getting their 350 a week. Whereas with Liverpool's players, since obviously Klopp come in and since they probably always have paid on a bonus structure. You win, you get paid more. You don't, you're on your base salary. Do you know what I mean? So there's that kind of there's the carrot there to go and actually perform. There's a carrot there to go and actually win things. If you're just handing somebody money on a plate week in, week out, win, lose, or draw, they get that. And I get that footballers should always want to win. It only takes one bad egg in a dressing room. We've seen that at several clubs to drag the actual morale or even the culture, toxic culture in. And if that happens at Arsenal, I think they could be in a bit of trouble.
It could be toast. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, where we are at the minute, when you actually look at the squad numbers, all right, I think we've got 15 non-homegrown players at the club at the minute. We can register 17. So we have the room to bring players in. We do have the funds. There is no doubt in my mind that we have the funds to bring in players. Because I remember doing a show going back, I think it was probably around March time, when we were looking at how much was available to the club to be able to, because there's the one thing I suppose nobody really knows is how much money do we actually have to spend? Because you're hearing stuff like words like war chest and this and that being banded around online. But the reality is, I don't think anyone actually knows how much money the club have available to them to spend. You can look at the accounts and stuff, and you can see what the financial fair play headroom is. And people who think that it doesn't exist, go and ask a Wolves fan. Go and ask, there's a handful of clubs that are, go and ask a Manchester United fan what it was like having to sign Wout Weghorst and have Cody Gakpo score against them when they couldn't afford to buy him because of financial fair play, not because of what the owners were spending. So, but we do have headroom. We do have headroom to go and spend. Now, I said at the start of the show about the 5 forwards that we have, plus Ben Doak, 6. Right? That's a part of the pitch that we're not going to have to worry about this season. At the back, we have 9 defenders if you include Gerald Kwanzaa and Connor Bradley. So unless someone leaves, and I think there's a strong argument for maybe looking at Joel Matip's position within the squad, maybe look to sell him, because there's plenty of credible reports out there saying that Jurgen Klopp wants to bring in a centre-back or wants to bring in a defender. Didn't name a centre-back, but a defender. So I can understand that that's a possible thing that can happen. And then you're into the minefield that is the midfield. Now, we can only bring in 2 more non-homegrown players into the squad that we can register for the league. So that are over 21 years of age. You got to, I'd love to ask in the chat, who would you be bringing in as the 2? And you have to, this is why I think the focus on Romeo Lavia is so important, because of his age, his profile, the fact that he will be homegrown if we sign him in a couple of years when he turns 21. And the other fact that he's one that is really highly regarded. He wouldn't be my cup of tea as your main man for now. I've openly said that. If he was one of 2 to come in, ideally it would have been one to have Fabinho bed into the squad for a year, but we are where we are now. So, where would you go with it? Where people in the chat go with it? Bearing in mind, you can only bring in 2.
Well, that's a nice little segue, Kev, but because we're not used to this, but because this is a call-in show, they don't just have to put it into the chat. We have 2 callers, and sorry for leaving them there for so long. And also, I put up a comment on screen there as well. Arsenal for Life, who's always in the chat, friend of the show, let's say.
Friend of the show, top quality guy.
Yeah. Why don't Arsenal for Life pop on for the chat? We're gonna start with Warren. We're gonna start with Warren. So give me 2 seconds, and I'll just add Warren in here. We'll shift around a small bit. You there, Warren? Can you hear us? How are you? Good.
How's things?
How are you? All good.
I'm all good.
Where are you listening from?
All good.
Because that's not a Cork accent, is
I'm
it?
in college at the moment. No, it's not. I'm a dub. I'm in Waterford at the moment in college, so I'm down these neck of the ends, so all good. But come here, in regard to what he was saying there about Lavia. Well, he's 19, but obviously next year Thiago will be moving on. I think that's the plan. So that's another player dropping out. There will be, this summer is literally going to be this exact same thing as next summer as well. There's going to have to be midfielders bought next summer as well. It's going to be the same arguments that are going to be had all year that we've had since December are going to be going on all this season as well for next summer, because there's going to be another rebuild.
That's a fair point. Yeah. The one thing I'd say to that is when I talked about the forwards, when we first got the sniff that Sadio wanted to go, and we found out that Sadio wanted to go apparently a year before. So the planning took the space of probably 3 windows. It took 3 windows to bring in the players that we currently have. It was Diaz, Nunes came in last summer, and then Cody Gakpo came in the last January window. Yeah. So I understand where you're coming from, that next year you're going to be looking to probably bring in someone to replace Thiago Alcantara.
If not more.
Along with one or... it will probably be more. But it's a case that you might end up having to do this midfield rebuild that we're calling it over 3 windows. I don't think it was ever credible that we were going to fix what's going on in midfield, especially when you factor in the
especially with the owners.
Sorry, go ahead.
The way the owners have worked, it's always been in short bursts. It's never been an overhaul, as he was saying with the war chest. We've never worked that way. It's almost like a good thing that we haven't done that, because you bring too many players in at one time, and if it doesn't work and the lads don't gel, there'll be a lot of questions asked on Klopp. Do you know what I mean? So what they are doing is right. It's just, I think everybody's panicking. It's a week away now till the season starting. We haven't got a definite 6 there. I know Jones can play there, but we haven't got a definite 6. Matip looks a bit leggy, but so people are going to be nervous. It's natural to be nervous. So it's just.
Who would you be bringing in, Warren? You know, if you're the director of football, you've got a month left to go in the window. You can bring in 3 players, assuming one is Lavia because he won't have to be registered. Yeah. Which way would you be going? I mean, we're not. You have to be realistic about it. I don't think we're going to spend more than another 150 million.
The thing, if that's the way, we never would, and we never were going to do that. I think every Liverpool fan knew that we weren't going to spend that type of money. We're always been a buy to sell club, and that was the way it was. And it's kind of acceptable this way because we're not spending shoot money like United and Arsenal. But it's frustrating as well because you're watching from an outside, seeing what's going on, which is understandable to see. But if I was to, obviously Lavia, I think is a main one. I'd like to see another midfielder, but I wouldn't mind us getting a right back and playing Trent in midfield.
Okay,
but I don't think he will. I don't think that is going to be out. And then obviously centre half, lads, I couldn't tell you centre half. It's an absolute disaster.
We've spoken about it before. There's probably 2 players out there that can fill 2 of the roles, and it's been mentioned. Edson Alvarez at Ajax. He's a central defensive midfielder and can play both centre back and
which Klopp would love that.
And then you've got Cooper Miners as well. I think can play centre back and can play midfield as well. I think what's thrown a spanner in the works this summer, and unfortunately the same thing happened last summer with 2 players, but for different reasons. Last year we had Keita and we had Ox got injured. And I honestly think that they wouldn't have seen September if they hadn't have got injured. And we would have actually brought in midfielders last year. And I don't mean Arthur Mello. I think the plan was probably to sell the pair of them for maybe a combined, I don't know, 30, 40 million.
I still think that Klopp had his heart set on that lad from Madrid. I can't pronounce his name, lads, but yeah, I think that was he wanted him. He was like he's a 6 as well, isn't he? I think he is a 6. Like he would have been ideal for even. I don't think obviously they would have thought that Fabinho would have had such a decline like he did last year. I don't think they would have expected that, but he wanted him. Everybody knew he wanted him. It was like he wanted Bellingham as well, but he wasn't going to pay the money because it's understandable. But he wanted that fella from Madrid. I think that was very obvious.
I think what's happened this season is I don't think they would have foreseen Henderson and Fabinho going. One of them maybe, because we've spoken on this show before, and I know Keith and a few others had said that if a bid came in for Fabinho, they probably wouldn't mind seeing them going.
Yeah,
I would have probably still held on to Fabinho because we spoke last.
It's a lot of money, though, isn't
it? Yeah, no, it is. But I still think if he ushers Lavia in, let's say between now and January, I still think you get 30 million for him in January or even next summer if he has a decent first half or full season. But last season we were talking about getting a defensive-minded midfielder in, and we didn't. Yeah. Now we've got rid of the only defensive-minded midfielder that we have.
Let's be honest, it's actually hilarious even just saying that. It's hilarious. Like how is there not being planning over the season to if Fabinho was to go, because they're definitely looking into the future. Like they're definitely looking a season or 2 seasons ahead of even next season, because this season coming ahead. Like they're definitely looking ahead on players and how they're developing, and like the lads are coming through the academy, and like to have no definite 6 that's going to do all the dirty work a week away from the season starting is just, I think it's unheard of, especially with Klopp. It would have been organised. he would have had.
I'll be honest with you, Warren. We did it. Me and Chris did a recorded show last night where we talked about Henderson and Fabinho, and we both I'd come away from it. I was like, for the money that we're going to be looking to spend, and I don't think that player exists in the market now.
No,
they can do everything that Fabinho. They can do everything that Fabinho would give us when he was at his peak.
Yeah,
you know, someone who was comfortable with the ball at his feet, who could progress the play, who could pass, who could be a destroyer, who could press and be the leading player in the press. I don't know if that player exists, not for the transfer budget, not a Romeo Lavia type player anyway, but I think you can replace him within how we changed to evolve the side. But look, how do you think, I'll just ask you before we go, where do you think how do you think the season goes for us, given where we are at the minute? We all said we need a change. Don't think any of us conceived this much change, but you know, where do you? How are you doom and gloom? Oh my God, the head's falling off.
I'm never doom and gloom. You know, I'm never doom and gloom.
So where do you think we're going to fit with Europa League, with Premier League? How do you think we'll go?
Well, come here. My heart hopes that Liverpool do get to the Europa League final, because as a dub, that'd be some night in Dublin. But
go away. Make me sick.
But
you'll be up yourself, Kev.
I'll be looking for sofas. I'll be crashing on someone's sofa. I guarantee that.
You're gonna have to crash on someone's sofa. No chance of a hotel that night in Dublin.
Definitely not. No, 100%.
I think we'll definitely improve compared to last year. Well, we can't get any worse than last year, lads. I definitely think the lads.
Chelsea said hold my pint. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, Szoboszlai, McAllister coming in. The R pluses. The R. Definitely improvements to the midfield. I think there'll be a lot more Trent on the ball, and Trent kind of doing working to Trent's strengths, because he is our most creative player. He is what gets us ticking. He always has been. So I think we will. It all depends on how strong he's going to go. Actually, I think it all depends on the Europa League and who drops down from the Champions League, because that's going to be your toughest test. I think whoever drops down from the Champions League will be your toughest test in the Europa League. In regards to the league, I just think City are too strong. No matter what, they are just too strong on paper, and they're just they might even have a bad start. Even the year that I think it was the year that we went, was it 1 point again? Was it last year? And they had a bad start, and we were all we normally start well, and people get their ears up, and then they just 13, 14 games unbeaten, and they're scoring goals for fun. I just think there's no way any team in the country can stop them.
Well, look, I mean, that is a fair shout, and I think what's the longest winning run? Is it 15 games?
Yeah, I think so. No, we weren't far off as well, but
I was going to say, as bad as we were last year, the last 11 games of the season, I think we had 9 wins, 2 draws, wasn't it? 9 wins, 2 draws. So we still have it, even on our worst day or our worst season. But look, Warren, listen, thanks for calling in. This is.
No, I really appreciate it, Warren.
As new to us as it is to you, but you've done really well, I have to say. So thanks for dropping by and
cheers, Warren. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. Let's see you later.
Cheers.
See you again.
Bye. Will we go again?
Yeah, we'll go again. Who's next?
Hang on. Next, we have AJ Smith is waiting there patiently. AJ, can you hear us?
Whoa!
Good luck to you.
The joys of live.
How come that didn't ever happen to the others? Paul Smith.
Shocking stuff. Shocking behaviour.
Even lads,
please don't do what that chap did.
As you can see, I haven't got anything of that in mind for you lads. Don't worry about it.
Although your picture is a P.
Yeah. Okay.
How are you, Paul?
I'm fine. How are you, lads?
Good.
We're all good, man. Not too bad. How are you keeping? I haven't spoken to you in a while. How are you getting on? How's the summer going?
I'm fine.
Good.
Well,
where are you with where we are?
Pessimistic.
I
am very pessimistic, unless we get in a 2 midfielders and a defender, a centre back, left side centre back that can. If we're going to play this inverted role, then we need someone who can cover. personally.
Do you think that inverted role is going to be is here for good? Or
Time will tell
for the foreseeable future, anyway. For the foreseeable future.
Depending how it works against stronger opposition, because the opposition wasn't the best that we were playing towards the end of last season.
You see, everybody says that, Paul, and I agree. Like we didn't play any kind of massive world beaters, but we absolutely bashed Arsenal in the second half. I don't know how we didn't win that game.
Yeah.
And it finished 2-2. And Arj, I think, said it there in the comments as well, that it was against weaker teams. And when we played Aston Villa and played Bayern even more recently, it was kind of showed it up a bit. But I don't think it's here to stay. I think it'll happen in phases of a game.
Yeah.
So I've always said that I think that if we get the legs that we need into midfield, I think we go back to a 4-3-3. I don't think we stick with this, and with Trent probably cheating the odd time into midfield.
I think Trent will go into midfield, whether we get legs in or not. I think because he offers us a creative option, as you saw for England and as you saw towards the end of last season. Yeah.
I watched all of the games for England right before at the end of last season. I was a mad advocate for putting Trent into midfield and bringing in a right back. But when I watched all of the preseason games and you saw how he was playing and creating an extra player in midfield, basically, when you play this 3-box-3, this 3-4-3, 3-2-2-3, whatever way you want to call it, you're gaining a player in the middle of the park to supplicate a side in, and the problem will come, and it will come. You're playing against the likes of Bayern. The Bayern are going to get chances. Now, nobody's talking about the 2 offside goals because they weren't given. But at the end of the day, I look at the offside goals and think, well, the defense actually did what they were supposed to do, and they caught the players offside. The fact that the linesman didn't do his job and put his flag up is a whole other problem that you won't see in the Premier League. But what that system does give us, it gives us chances. The amount of chances that we created against a side like Bayern, who genuinely don't give up many goals. Even last season when they won the league, in the Bundesliga as a whole, they don't give up many goals, let alone give up chances. Clark should have finished his chance. Nunes definitely should have finished his chance. It's a different game. You're having a different conversation if you rattle 5 or 6 past Bayern. In some ways, I'm glad the result went the way it went, because it's a kick up the backside to say you're not where you need to be. And there are problems with this system. But I think what this system will give us going forward almost negates the trouble that you're going to get against a handful of sides who can give you problems. Because I think last season, our biggest problem last season, with all of the post-match shows that we did, Emmett, you did them as well, was the amount of times we couldn't get good chances. We couldn't score goals. And last year was criminal for the amount of goals that we didn't score. It was one of the lowest scoring seasons we've had in a while. I think this season going into it, I think we will score goals. I don't think we'll keep many clean sheets. I don't think this way of playing is going to win you a league. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's going to be something to watch.
If we get 2 decent, I mean, I'm holding midfielder in mind we should go for, and I think Martin Zubimendi.
Yeah. I think he's. I think Barcelona are trying to shift players about. I think the deal for, if they can get Frank Kessie off the books and off to Saudi Arabia, and it's looking like Ousmane Dembele will go to PSG, I think that will probably free them up to be able to bring in Zubimendi, because it's kind of like the Gvardiol stuff.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant player. Zubimendi is a really good player, but nobody else is in the conversation. It's almost a case of there are players in the game that we know are moving, but
Barcelona or Real Madrid.
Yeah, it's literally like, it's almost like an open secret, the Gvardiol one especially. Gvardiol's going to Man City for ages. It was just a case of waiting for Man City to get their ducks in a row and get a deal agreed. That's why there's nobody else is wasting their time trying to sign him, because the deal was already is a nod and a wink type of thing. That's the only thing I'd worry about Zubimendi. Is there a nod and a wink type of deal with Xavi that is a done deal to Barcelona once they get their ducks in a row?
There's no harm in making an inquiry.
Edson Alvarez, I think, is the other one that I would be looking at.
I would have put the Monaco player in there. He played really well against Arsenal last night or yesterday morning. Yusuf Fofana.
You got a name?
Yusuf
Fofana.
Yeah. At Monaco, and there's another guy that plays alongside him called Kamara, and I think they both came through the Monaco academy with Tchouaméni.
You need to have a good look at him. And there's a centre back I have in mind. Is it Pietro? Him Kempe from Bayer Leverkusen.
Right. But this is where you're going to come up against a problem now, because you can only bring in 2 over the age of 21.
Yeah. But there was I did hear a theory about I know we're linked to Andre, which I would love to see in our club. Andre Trindade. Apparently, if he's under 20, if he's 21 or under, the overseas rule doesn't apply to him. Apparently,
the way, because I was looking this up earlier on. It depends on when your birthday is.
Yes, his birthday. Yeah.
It's like you see a lot of players at the recent Euro under 21s, like Tonali, for example, who's 22. You know, he's 23. It depends on what age you are when the tournament starts. I'm not sure as to whether it's the start of the season or the 1st of January.
Apparently, he recently just turned 22, so
exactly. So he would have to be registered. The thing is with him, from what I've listened to, is Fluminense want to keep him until
that's the issue.
Until the end of their season, which is December. But the caveat with it is that they're playing their last 16 second leg game the day before the day before our transfer window closes. And
that's the 8th of August. I think it's 5 days before the Brazilian one closes or something like that.
Exactly. So we can get him. I think we could get him if they get knocked out. I think if they don't get knocked out, then I think that we could probably do what Man City did with Alvarez and Gabriel Jesus and say, look, whatever the fee is in Jack, we'll take him. We'll agree the fee now, but we'll take him at the end of your season. We'll have him in January type of thing. But that still doesn't sort the immediate problem of what you're going to do.
A proper DM.
Yeah. But it's the other problem. That would be one of your non-homegrown players for the season. So you can only bring in one more, which I still think that there's going to be a player sold. I think that there'll be at least one player sold at the back.
Like I said in the chat. I didn't sorry to interrupt you, Carol.
No. I just said if you could find a buyer for Joel Matip, I think Joel Matip could go.
I was just going to say that. There's rumors that he's on his way out the door, apparently.
Yeah, I saw it. There was something in the Echo, I think, earlier on, but I think it was more so next summer than this summer. But I think if you get a chance to what has he got left on his deal? Is he free next summer? Is he? Okay, so I think even if you got a nominal fee for him, do you need 2 centre backs then? Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
No, I don't think you do. I think you'll go into the season with 4 plus Jarl Kwanzaa would be your Nat Phillips equivalent. You know, I think you'll go into. So
there's a lot saying that we need a new centre back now. So are we saying they need a new centre back?
No, you don't. You're not going to
get injured, or is it?
No, I don't think you're going to go into a season with 6 centre backs at the club. I don't see a world where that happens.
So at this moment in time, do you think we need a centre back, Kev?
I think we could do with a centre back, but it would be more to do with an upgrade on the ones that we have.
Yes.
One would have to go to bring one in.
Yes.
You know, and I see Justin Ulysses there in the chat saying Matip ain't leaving, guys. I think it's one of those quandaries that you have where I think if that was going to happen and we were going to bring in a centre back, I don't think Joel Matip would have gone on tour. I think, like Fabinho, they'd have tried to arrange something to go now, kind of thing, you know, and let that happen and see if you can bring someone in over the summer. But I don't know. I just think that if you look at what we have Trent, you have Connor Bradley, Joe Gomez who can cover right back, right centre back. You have Konate, right centre back, Virgil, left centre back, Joel Matip. You have Robertson and Kostas Tsimikas. I don't see where you bring one more in without getting one out the door. I don't see how that happens.
Would it make more sense to allow Tsimikas to go then and bring in a centre back in his place?
Yeah, I agree with that totally.
That's the unfortunate thing is where Hensepe is injured, but he's back before. I think he's back this month.
Yeah,
someone like that. I mean, even you look at the way Man City play, because they play this inverted system to a similar degree, where John Stones is the one who goes into midfield from centre back, and the other three tuck in next to him to create the back three. So Man City more often than not they'll start games with 4 centre backs, but Stones will just drift off.
You see, that's the thing where it differs to us, Kevin. Sorry for cutting across you.
Yeah,
is that Man City do it with 4 centre backs. We do it with 2 centre backs, a right back and a left back. So look, and Jesus, I'm not for one second saying that we shouldn't be playing Robbo or whatever, but I think that if it's a case that we decide that Tsimikas goes, I think it's ideal to bring in a centre back, because you start with your 3 centre backs, maybe not with Robbo the odd time. So if you're going to play a game where Trent cheats into the midfield, well, then you start with the 3 centre backs and no Robbo. Whereas if you're just going to play 4-3-3, you start with your standard 4 at the back. So I think we need to be able to transition within games as well, or change. I think it's great that we have this 4-3-3 and we play it nearly now. Last season and maybe the season before, we did change in game to like a 4-2-4 or a 4. We've changed lots, but I just think we need to be a little bit more fluid in changing how we play in game, not game to game, but say half to half or every 10 minutes.
Sections of games where you need to calm it down a bit, or if you need to kick on a bit. Yeah.
And the reason why. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
That's one of my issues with Klopp. He's not very tactically flexible in his either his tactical thinking or his formation. In my personal opinion. Yeah,
it's like to me that in my opinion, it's like he decides at the start of a season that's how we're going to play, and we're going to play that way all season.
Stubbornness,
and it's stubborn. He has. I think last season was probably one of the first seasons where he didn't really change anything. So the season before, you had like this high line that everybody was scared shitless of, then the prior to that, then it was we were playing. We weren't playing the 4-3-3, but he always changes something. Last season, I don't think he really changed anything. Is he going to change something this season? Do we stick with playing with the new system? I'm not sure. I definitely don't want to see, at this minute in time, I don't want to see Trent as a bog standard midfielder. I think if he's to be playing in the middle, he needs to be cheating into the middle from right back. I don't think.
Mark Kavanagh makes a point there in the chat. It's not about names; it's about quality. Last year we had 10 names in midfield. I've heard that one mentioned a few times. I mean, guys, when you look at the centre back, the defenders that we have there at the club at the minute, at the end of the day, we're not selling 3 or 4 of them. It's not happening. So I can definitely see a world where you can sell. You'd phase 1 out. Maybe even 2 if you look at Matip and Costas, because I think they're the 2 that you'd look at would need the biggest upgrade. Yeah. But I cannot see how that happens now unless we do an absolute madness. You know? I
do think we need a replacement right back for Trent, in my personal opinion.
So you want to get a proper. So who would you be looking to bring in then?
There's a Spanish kid. I've been doing a little bit of scouting called Arnu Martinez. I think he plays for Gremius. I can't remember the name of the club. I can look it up now. Bear with me.
Yeah. So again, while you're looking that up, then Paul, and I'll ask you as well, Kev. So when we're saying, or some people are saying, that we need a replacement right back, do we need a replacement right back, or much the same as if we're getting rid of Tsimikas, we should replace him with a more centre back minded rather than.
Oh, this guy can play centre back and right back. I think it's Arnu Martinez.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So do we then? So I know we're looking for a right back or a replacement for Trent, but should they be more in the way of
I think the team is Girona.
Centre back.
I think the team is Girona in the Spanish La Liga.
Okay, and how old is he?
20.
Okay,
And I believe he had a really good game against our friend and your friend, what's his game? Vinicius Junior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really had a really good game against him, apparently.
Cool.
I mean, Chris,
a name to keep an eye out for sure.
Chris in the chat said there's Chris Prosser says he thinks that Gomez is Trent's cover at right back.
Yes.
Do you ever see us starting a game with Konate, Gomez, and Van Dijk?
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's not a definitive answer, but
I know one day tripper that will have a massive aubergine around that one. Let's just say
you never know what Klopp's going to do when it comes to selection. Yeah,
but that's the thing that I don't get is, and there was a bit of chat earlier on as well about Robbo getting caught out the other day against Bayern, and somebody said, well, he's not ignoring Klopp's instructions. He's clearly still told to get forward. But in this system, should he be told to stay home? And if it's a case that Klopp wants 3 there, if Trent is cheating into midfield, why isn't he starting with 3 of our centre backs rather than starting with Robbo?
Because I think Robertson. See, the thing is, I remember watching a post-match interview when he was going, and he went into depth about this actually, and he said that basically Robertson is going to have to curb his instincts to go forward, but he's still going to have to pick and choose the moments when he does go. Even if you watch, because Arsenal are probably the one side that plays this very similar with Zinchenko. They pick and choose when they go, and you have to be very selective about, the moments in the game. And you have to have that sense of when you can do it. So, and you've seen it with Scotland as well, because Scotland do play a back 3 quite regularly, and Robertson and Tierney have played in there. So
they swap between each
other. It's not alien to him.
Yeah,
it's not alien for him to be able to do this position, but he's got to learn when he can and when he can't go. But it also puts the onus on whoever's playing in front of him, to be that outlet wide, because whoever's playing wide on the left ahead of Robertson, if he doesn't go, is going to be isolated. So ideally, Luis Diaz is that guy, and you've seen it when he played against Bayern. For his goal that started off from deep with him and making the run burst to get inside. So he's capable of doing that as well. But this isn't just about, I don't think one individual comes in and fixes this. This is like a work in progress. It's going to be started with the Arsenal game last season. It's going to evolve as time goes on. The only beauty, I think, at the minute is the average age of the squad has really come down drastically. And it had to be done. I don't think it had to be done this quickly, but it has been needed for a while. We've all said we wanted to see change. Well, this is change, and sometimes change takes time, and it does hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
Where do you think we're going to end up, Paul, this season? I know you're a bit wary of what we can achieve, but what do you think this squad, assuming we get a couple of additions into it, what do you think this squad is capable of doing?
If we get the right midfielders, I think we could challenge, possibly, as dark horses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think top 3.
100%.
Top 3, if you get the right challenge, yeah.
Crikey.
Well, if we don't...
I thought you were going to say we might...
Go on.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think the thing is, last season, when you looked at the games last season, right, it was against the bottom half sides that we struggled. And we dropped so many points last season against the bottom half sides. And that was largely because we couldn't score enough goals. It wasn't the case that we were struggling at the back so much. We couldn't get ahead in games and put ourselves in positions to go and win them. And I look at the front 5 that we have at the minute, and Szoboszlai and McAllister, to feed those whoever's playing up front. I think we'll score goals. I really think that we will score a lot of goals.
Fingers crossed.
The question really is, you've got to look at, can Man City, after winning everything, they have a Club World Cup to go to as well. I think that's on this year as well. Can they get themselves up and do it again? We saw how hard it is to defend the title, let alone what they've achieved. And they're phenomenal.
They're going for 4 in a row as well, aren't they?
Yeah, can they get up and do it again? We
They've
don't
lost
know.
a couple of good players, but they've lost Mahrez.
Mahrez, Gundogan.
Yep. Good again, yeah. And someone else as well. I think Kyle Walker's on his way as well.
And they brought back Cancelo, and he looks like he's going to be on the way out as well. So it's like, I think they are. I think they're favourites. Look, there's no getting away from it. They're favourites, but
can't argue that. Yeah,
I think there's question marks over everybody. I don't think anyone has really got it. I think every single squad that you think of as your top 8, every single one of them has issues. Every single one of them has question marks, us included. You know, can Pochettino at Chelsea bed in a side? You know, after the amount of changes that they've made, we don't know. There's so many questions over the season.
Chelsea got the same issue as we have. They're looking for a midfield as well. They haven't got a holding midfield, or I mean, that's what they're after. That's what they want Casado so badly.
Yeah, and that looks like that.
So where does Enzo play then?
I think they've been either trying to play him as a 6.
So where does Casado play then?
Yeah.
So do you know? I think they're just being fucking greedy at this stage. Like, do you know what I mean? They're going to have £200 million pound players that play in the same position. Are they going to play both of them? Yeah. So
I think Pochettino will look. I think Pochettino will look to probably play 4-2-3-1 or a variation of it.
Yeah.
So I think he ideally wants to play 2 holding mids, let your fullbacks go, and let your front 4 try and win your games. But there's problems there, big problems there. Manchester United as well. You know, Newcastle. How are Newcastle going to cope with being in Europe? An extra 10, 12 games on the season. Yeah, they've made a couple of signings, but you know, can they do it again?
What do you think of Onana as a goalkeeping signing?
Madness. I think it's an absolute Fruit Loop. He's a complete accident waiting to happen. He's an absolute car crash. He's a blooper reel on steroids at the end of a season. He'll make some absolute worldy saves, and then you'll have your hair in your hands if you're a Manchester United fan. Why have you been so stupid coming out into the halfway line and getting caught? He's that kind of instinctive keeper. He's an absolute head in the ball.
He hasn't made
£2 million
so far.
Give him time.
Yeah,
give him time.
Happen. Yeah, but
it just won't happen. It won't just happen. It will just explode. It will just explode. He's got this in his nature that it's almost an impulsive thing with him. And if you ever watched him when he was playing at Ajax, he's got an utter streak that he just absolutely does a stupid thing, and he unsettles everyone around him. He unsettles the back 4. He unsettles the midfield because they don't know what he's going to do. David De Gea, for all his faults, kept a lot of clean sheets. You know, I think his distribution was shocking. Onana's distribution is really good, but he's an absolute head in the ball. He's an absolute Fruit Loop.
Yeah.
But come here, didn't Ten Hag had him before and he didn't fancy him. Then he goes out and spends nearly 50 million on him.
The reason why he left Ajax at the time was because of a drug issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There was issues around him then.
He's at the right club anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's not at ours.
Okay.
Yeah, cheers, Paul. Thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Problem at all.
I'm just conscious that there's actually 4 people waiting.
All right, we'll have to be quick then. We'll have to be really quick.
Okay, I'll let you go, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Paul.
Talk to you, Paul. Thanks. Okay. Let's see, Gary.
Everyone come in, say what you want, where we are. No stupid photos.
Are you in a rush, Kev?
No, I'm all right. I'm good.
We'll try and get through as many as we can.
We'll
probably just leave it at the moment. So we've got Gary, Laszlo, and Albert waiting to come in. There's another one there as well called Bear Britain Audit GB. Now, after what happened earlier on, I'm in 2 minds as to whether you're going to get in here, pal. So unless you want to prove to us in the chat that you're all good, we might leave you until after the watershed. So we're going to add in Gary Corbett here now. So is Gary? I'll just pop him over there. Gary, how you doing?
Good evening, boys. You all right?
All right, Gary.
How are you?
How you doing, boys? You all right?
Good, yeah, good, thanks. I'll be back in 1 second.
Fire away.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, first time caller and subscribed and liked tonight. So enjoying the
very
channel.
good. Welcome on board.
It's all right, mate. Yeah, someone recommended it. And it's really good so far.
Good stuff. What's your opinion on the transfers so far, Gary, or what do you think we're going to get done?
I don't know what you fellas think, but I think that it seems like we can get linked and sign attacking players in about 5 minutes. But when we want like someone defensive, there's literally no links at all. So like I know we've been in for Lavia for like over about a month now, who seems, you know, he's a good sign. He's a 19, 20-year-old lad, good prospect. We're going to have to bear in mind that of his age, and he's probably going to make mistakes. But I would assume he's coming. But tonight, I've heard through the grapevine that Gabri Vega might be coming now, which is another like box-to-box midfielder. So Klopp does love a attacking player, and I don't mind it because we do have a lot of attacking flair, you know. And this season, I think it's going to be important. But the thing I noticed in the Bayern game, I don't know if you guys noticed it as well, probably, is, you know, we're playing this like inverted going to a free in possession thing. The trouble is, I don't think Trent really knows what he's doing, because I see him trying to go into this inverted role. He goes into a half six, then he comes out, then he leaves space in behind. Then Matip looks like an arse running across trying to cover against Gnabry, who's about 10 times quicker. It's just like, is Klopp even concentrating on defence at all? I mean, we used to be really solid, you know, and that 4-3-3, we knew what we was doing. We had the guy in front shielding the back four. Now it just looks like it's all on the front foot, and it's like, oh, we just roll the dice and see what happens, and don't worry about the back four. I mean, Robbo has been absolutely torn to bits this week on chat rooms and that. And to be fair, he's been a great servant to the club. But if you're being told as a player, oh, you know what? Yeah, just run up the pitch and take your time coming back, or don't sit if someone else runs forward, then you're going to do it, aren't you? And I just think there's glaring issues especially defensively. And I don't know who runs the training or set pieces as well, but this has been susceptible to corners and you know, just defensively, we just don't look the same team as we used to, guys. You know.
Well, the thing is,
go on ahead, Kev. Go on.
I was going to say, the reason why we're not the same team. We're not going to be the same team, because for the attributes that Szoboszlai has and what McAllister has, they're not Wijnaldum and they're not Henderson. They can't do what they did in their pomp and Szoboszlai will never be able to do that, by the way. That's not his game. You know, he's not going to be that box 8. But what he does give you is absolute quality in the final third and the build-up play in their half. The thing is with Trent, and you see it with this system all the time, the problem is always going to be there. You can't be in two places at once. So whoever's playing as your right centre back in that 3 has to cover a lot of space. So, and Matip can't do that. That's the problem. That's why I said with the last call with Paul, Matip is probably the one that you'd look to probably replace, because he just doesn't have the legs to be able to get to where he needs to get to. Gomez can do it. He's not as good as Kanate, but no matter which way you cut the apple, Trent can't be in two places at once. And to get for what it gives you in the extra player in midfield, the extra player to be able to go and press and win the ball back high up, to create more chances, to score more goals. The weakness is when you're playing Leroy Sané, Gnabry, when you have Alphonso Davies running on the wing at you as well, when you're surrounded and coming up against pace, you know, you're gonna get caught once in a while, and you're just gonna have to suck it up, I'm afraid. I don't know any other way around it, because if you go back to playing a 4-3-3, which what we all loved about the last few years, the McAllisters and the Szoboszlai, can't play on the same side. You can't have the two of them as your 2 8s and ask them to do what Jordan Henderson and Gino Wijnaldum did. They just can't do it. So there's no point in even. This is why you probably tried to reinvent a system. In one way, to get more out of Trent in an offensive way. Secondly, to try to protect Fabinho, to only give him half the pitch to worry about, rather than having to look left and right. You know, if Trent is sat there next to him as almost your second 6 when you're on the ball.
Yeah.
You know, Fabinho had to cover less ground, so he looked better in the second half of the season, you know. But time will tell. It's got. I mean, there's a month left to go on the window. We definitely have to do business. 100%, we have to do business. So
just on your first point, Gary. So I think the reason why it's taken so long for the likes of midfielders or defenders, and we seem to be, like you said, we seem to be able to get attacking minded players done and dusted and over the line nice and quick, is that we don't seem to ever be in need of an attacking player. So whereas everybody knows we're absolutely tearing our hair out to try and get a midfielder, and there's all the talk online is midfield and defense. So Southampton are well within their rights at the moment. They know that we need a Lavia type player, so they can hold off and demand their 50 million. Some people saying 60 million now. I'd say that's probably why it's a long drawn out process, and I'd imagine that's why Klopp said at the start of the summer before we finished was some will happen straight away. So your McAllister and your Szoboszlai, whereas some might take 6 to 7 weeks to get over the line. And I'd imagine, I think Gav said last night on a show that he doesn't think that Lavia was the initial target because we didn't think we were going to lose Fabinho. I think that we did have a defensive-minded midfielder in mind, but probably not Lavia. And I think that's the reason being is that they have what we want, and they're well within their rights to hold out for as much money as possible. And I still think it gets done. I think it's somewhere between. Look, they have a 40 million buyout for Manchester City next year, and Man City get 20% of any sell on. So if they sell him for 40, they owe them 8. So I'd say it's somewhere between 45-ish and 48. They're looking for basically us to cover what they're going to have to give to City, essentially, and they still get their 40 million. But look, I still think. Do you think Lavia gets done? What do you see us bringing in? Are you losing patience? There's a big thing online where people are like, just spend the money. This is ridiculous. We're not getting it done. I'm fairly relaxed about it. Myself and Kev were talking beforehand. He's fairly relaxed about it as well. Although you wouldn't have guessed last week when him and Gav were having a chat. I thought we were going to be throwing dates at each other. But are you fairly confident that we get in what we need in? Or do you think, I know Shawnee's a big advocate that we always seem to go into a season one player short. What do you think we get in before the end of the window?
From what I've gathered links wise, and I've got a few links to the club and that, nothing high up or anything, but a couple of guys that worked in the scouting department, and they're saying to me we're very busy on the continent at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if this Gabri Veiga is incoming sooner or later. He's got a buyout clause.
I think, was it a case of we're looking to do a deal similar to what we did for Naby Keita? We buy him and leave him for the year or something like that. I thought I saw.
No, I saw the link, and apparently they're looking. They were looking. It came out of Spain, and I think it was one of the Spanish dailies that come out with it, and our name got linked in with him because we were linked with him earlier in the summer. It went quiet, and I think it went quiet for a reason. I don't see how he fits in this summer. Maybe he's someone that you look at because he's only really had one good season. You know, he had one good season last year where he was a breakout player. But I think he, whether he does come in or it could be a case of you keep an interest in him and maybe have a look next year kind of thing. I don't know. But I don't see him being linked. I don't see him coming in this summer anyway. Not when we've got so many other issues
Somebody said earlier on that he could be a long-term replacement for Thiago. And Ard says there as well, sorry, so it's 20% sell-on clause based on profit made from buying them. Yeah. So it's not what they sell them for, it's what the difference in what they bought. So somebody else said there as well that he'll replace Thiago next summer. Anybody else you see coming in? Do you think we get Lavia done?
Yeah, I think Lavia is just a case of just us inching that money up, boys. I reckon we you know what we're like, FSG would fight over the last crisp in a packet, there's no
billionaires are billionaires for a reason, mate. Make no mistake about it. They'd hear a 50 flutter from 1,000 miles away. I can guarantee.
I mean, if you remember when we had our operating costs, was it last year and the tax year? We was only third on the list behind Real Madrid and Man United in actual income. So we are definitely as a business getting a lot of money coming in now. It just would be nice every winter if we could spend about 120 million each summer instead of hesitating like we did the last couple. I reckon we wouldn't.
Where we are at the minute, we spent 112 million euro on two players, and we've recouped 60 million on player sales.
Yeah.
So last year over the. But I think that has to be the aim. Where you. I think the aim is normally to spend probably 30-40 million more than what you recoup.
But don't you think
that's sustainable long term?
All right. Yeah, I was just going to say, don't you think? Sorry, mate. Okay,
no, go on. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Jerry.
I was just going to add to what you're saying. Don't you think, like with all the way we performed last season, though, we actually did need to spend and go above and beyond this summer. Like we had all these promises, and then we are still like haggling deals,
Well, who made these promises?
Well,
it's like we know that we're going to be spending money. Yeah, we know that we're going to be spending money, and we have spent significant money. I mean, we got a deal of a lifetime in McAllister. McAllister is an absolute deal of a lifetime. I remember when we were first linked with him, I would have paid the 70 million, and gladly, because that's what was being touted around. I would have been delighted at getting him in at that. I think he's that good. Szoboszlai's not cheap. You know what I mean?
No,
70 odd million euro. And they've got outside financing for the first time, I think, ever to bring in a player. Normally they don't do that. They structure deals over the length of a contract. Even when they pay buyouts, they normally just go and slap the money down and that's it. So to do it the way we've done it, I think has left us a lot of leeway to be able to go. I think everyone would love that, that big marquee signing, but at the same time, you don't want to be fleeced, because it's the one thing that we can't afford is to get one wrong. Like I don't think we could get one wrong like Manchester United did with Fidget Spinner. And Sancho. I don't think we have that luxury in a transfer market to get a significant spend that badly wrong again. We got burnt with Naby Keita badly, and I think that's probably made them very wary about. I think if they're going to be spending that much money on a player, to be right, they have to be sure. And that's why I think they look for that thing with a player who's played a couple of 100 games before they go all in on him. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I think there's definitely going to be something happening, whether it's Lavia or something else. I think Klopp this is all on him. It's his influence. He's the one that has the ultimate say on all the players coming and going. I don't think Fabinho and Henderson would have been allowed to go if he didn't want them to go, or if he'd have had final say on them going, as the same way with other players who are coming in. But ultimately, he's going to be judged on this window, and a bad window and a bad start to the season, he's under pressure. He's under pressure this time. It's not like when we were on the build-up before, when we were going from 8th to fight to get into the Champions League, you know, there wasn't the expectation. When we were first challenging Man City, it was like, wow, this is fantastic. Aren't we great? And we're this and we're that. This time around, the expectation is there, where fans expect to be in the mix. They expect to be in the conversation in May next year. And if we're not, and he's had this influence and he doesn't get it right, questions are going to be asked for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair
100%
play.
agree
Gary,
with that.
thanks for ringing in, mate, and thanks for
Yeah, I
Thanks,
appreciate it,
everyone.
Gary. Thanks, man.
Thank you, boys.
thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
subscribing. Whoever told you, obviously you should pass on now to your mates as well. So,
Certainly will.
Nice one.
thanks for coming on.
Thank you,
Gary,
boys.
talk to you again, bud.
Tell them, mate.
Sleepy Forest making a point there. How can Klopp be judged if FSG won't give him what he wants? Jurgen Klopp has signed 3 extensions, 2 extensions and a long-term contract at Liverpool. He knows how the club works. He knows how FSG operate. He could walk into any job in world football if he wasn't happy. He's well versed in the dark arts of the media. If he wants to get a story out about the owners, he knows exactly how to do it and where to do it. So don't be buying into this nonsense that the owners aren't giving. Jurgen Klopp knows exactly what's on the table. He knows exactly how much he's got to spend, and he knows exactly who he can get. Don't be falling for this nonsense that it's FSG versus Klopp and Klopp versus FSG and the pity party for Jurgen Klopp. Nah, sorry. They're all in this boat together now. You know, 100%. They're all in together.
Okay, so we have Laszlo. From this parish. Laszlo, how you doing?
We have
Oh, he has his YouTube on.
You need to turn that up.
I feel like Adrian Kennedy on the phone show.
Yeah.
Can you turn your radio down in the background there, please, pal?
Good afternoon, Joe Duffy. This is live.
You there, Laszlo? He's probably gone off for a leak. Oh, he's gone on mute.
Hello.
No, don't mute this. Mute your YouTube.
I can't hear you, boys.
Can you hear us?
Laszlo, you've got to mute your YouTube that you're listening to. If it's on your phone and you're trying to talk on the phone at the same time, I think we're going to have a cross wires issue.
We can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yeah, 1 second.
Fix that, Laszlo. I'll try fix it there. I'll leave you in down below and I'll bring you back in a minute. Yeah.
A second.
I'm going to add in Albert. Albert, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Where are you calling us from, brother?
I'm calling you from Florida, Orlando, Florida.
Nice.
But it's hot, man. How hot?
Very
Go
hot.
on, make me sick. How hot?
It's like really hot. It's even tough to go outside, man. It's
humid.
Really yeah, hot and humid. Yeah, because there are.
I was going to say you're in Florida and you're indoors sitting watching us when you should be out in the sun, but it's obviously too hot.
Man, it's too hot to go outside, bro. Too hot to go outside.
Good stuff. What's your opinion on the transfers, Albert?
Yeah, I've just been listening to you guys, and I watched Chelsea yesterday. They played Dortmund, and they played in Chicago in Soldier Field, and they did play a 4-2-3-1, and they play Gallagher and Enzo as a double pivot, and then they played Sterling, Chukwuemeka, and Nkunku, with Nkunku on that side. Nkunku got injured and they brought in Mudryk. Now, my worry is that side we leave open. It's a side that will be exploited ruthlessly if we don't plug that hole. I don't see Trent willing to go forward and come back. And like you said, to be fair, he can't be in 2 places at a time. So we need to have a defensive midfielder who is prepared to come back and cover that space. Otherwise, we're done for. We've conceded 10 goals in the preseason. I know people are going to say, "Oh, it's just preseason," but you know, that's what it looks like. and teams that are as good as us or better than us will exploit that space, especially if they have fast wingers or fast midfielders. If you recall, towards the end of last season, we had the likes of Jacob Ramsey. I mean, smart managers, Song Heung-min and others exploiting that space. It's something that Mudryk will do willingly. It's something that Nkunku will do willingly, and even Sterling if he's put on that side. Long story short, we need to get a DM, and it's inexcusable that a team like Liverpool doesn't have a DM at this time. I'm not sure how they are slicing and dicing it over there. I'm not sure what our new director of football is doing, but I think that space should be accounted for, and Curtis Jones can't do it through no fault of his. Curtis Jones is just not a defensive midfielder. Some are saying, oh, during the Euro under-21s, he played in the mid. Yeah, he played as part of a double pivot with Andre Gomez, and he was ahead of Gomez. So we can't put him playing a 6. Trent has tried playing the 6 twice. Clearly, we saw the result. He wasn't that good, and Klopp said it himself. We simply need to get ourselves a halfback, a decent, competent halfback that we can slot into position. I think the best thing we should have done was we should have bought Ugarte. After we let Ugarte slip, we should have gone in full pelt for Caicedo. I mean, I don't see the problem with LFC, Klopp, whoever is handling that business, understanding that a player like Caicedo can give us at least 10 years because he's only 21. If we play our cards right, so it's a good investment. Even if Tony Bloom is sticking to the £100 million, which I doubt he will, if you're giving him what he's looking for. So whether that ship has sailed is another matter. But I think that we should be looking to bring in a decent halfback who can plug that hole when Trent moves into the midfield. Otherwise, we'll be embarrassed early, we'll be embarrassed often.
Yeah, do you know what? I fully agree. I was one that would have said earlier in the summer about Ugarte. And what I think is, and we spoke about it earlier on, we spoke about it on other shows, is, and people are probably sick of it as being used as an excuse. I think Ugarte was probably one that we looked at, but probably expected to come in and start, and maybe he wasn't going to start with Fabinho still there. And now and that ship, I'm not going to say ship sailed, but we decided maybe we had a look around. PSG nabbed him. Now we've lost Fabinho, and we're like, oh shit, Ugarte would have been the perfect replacement for Fabinho, but now he's gone.
I agree with you. We were never, sometimes we the fans, I don't know whether we lie to ourselves or we are simply lied to, because we said, oh, we're going to do a rebuild. We're going to do a rebuild. The truth is that we were not going to get anybody else apart from the 2 we got. If Fabinho and Henderson hadn't left, we weren't going to buy nobody else. Right? There was just a myth.
I'd agree with that. I think you're right there. I think the Caicedo stuff is a legitimate argument if you wanted to go and pay the 100 million and go and get him. It makes all the sense in the world. If you think you're going to get him for a decade, it's an easy sell. You're paying the equivalent of 10 million a year over a decade. The other thing
with Caicedo is that he earns very little money at Brighton.
Oh yeah, wages wouldn't be a problem.
Right. As of now, he's paid 15,500, I think, even after the contract was renewed. So even if you give him 4 times the amount, you've done nothing for the kind of player he is.
I don't think the wages are a problem with him. I think the problem you have in getting Caicedo is it's like you look at some of the other deals. There's nobody else linked with him either. It's almost a case of it's Chelsea, and it's just he wants to go to Chelsea. He's twerked for Chelsea all summer long, and also the fuss that he kicked up when he tried to get to Arsenal last year. It looks like he's learned his lesson in that respect. But he's also playing the long game in getting to Chelsea this summer. Whether Chelsea will go back in for him, I don't know if they can without making another. I think they have to get Gallagher out the door and probably one other out the door to be able to afford to go back in and get him. But I honestly think that's probably the reason why nobody else is going anywhere near him. It was kind of like us with Virgil. You know, there was a couple of tentative clubs looking at him, but he made it well known that he only wanted to come to us. But I think Caicedo is in that.
I think it
boat as
is
well.
wages. I don't think, and just the reason I put up Elliot Santos, Ugarte, 80 million euro. Do you see us spending that kind of money? I do see us spending that kind of money, but I don't see us spending that kind of money and then giving someone 250 grand a week. I see us spending that type. I see us spending that type of money and giving someone 140 grand a week or 150, but I don't see us spending big on transfer fee and spending big on their wages. And I think, and I know neither of you do, I think Caicedo is attracted by I think Chelsea are rumored to be offering him 250 grand a week. I think that we would go to 80 million, but we won't go to 250 grand a week. Chelsea will do both.
Yeah.
And I think that's the stumbling block.
I see the point. I think the chat that you put up said he cost 80 million euro. He didn't cost 80 million euro. His release clause was 52 million pounds, and PSG triggered it. But I see your point.
Yeah. But the other one thing I just wanted to say about Ugarte, Chelsea were linked with him, and PSG offered 3 million euro per year more than what Chelsea were willing to offer.
There you go.
And that Chelsea would have blown us out of the water when it came to wages. And if he went to PSG for 3 million per year more than what Chelsea were offering, at that point, it's just never going to happen. Never in a million years.
So I think that's where I don't think we get outbid in terms of. I think we will go toe to toe with anybody when it comes to the fees, but I don't think we're not willing to bet. We're like, remember Arsenal back in the mid 2000s, they wouldn't pay anybody any more than 70 grand a week or something like that, or 75 grand
at the time,
at the time. I think that's where, I'm not going to say we're Arsenal then, but we have a wage structure. It's heavily incentivized by bonuses, win bonuses, goal bonuses, all that kind of stuff. And we've only really bent it for Salah. And let's face it, Salah deserved us to probably bend it for him. But you just need to be very careful. Like you bring in even Bellingham, I still think we would have matched the fee that Real Madrid have paid for him, but we were never going to give him 400 grand a week. It just wasn't happening. And that's what rules us out of transfers. I don't think fees are the issue. It's the actual salary that they want to be paid.
But whatever it is, I think there are others in the system who can plug that halfback position. A team like Liverpool simply cannot go into a league season without a decent halfback.
Yeah,
100%, I don't want us to place the fortunes of the team on the shoulders of Bajcetic, because Bajcetic is young and he has this issue with this adductor thing that is a time-bound injury. It's not like you can go and do surgery and it fixes. You guys, I'm sure you guys are old enough to remember what we did to Rob Jones. Brilliant fullback. We put the fortunes of Liverpool on him, and at 24-25, he was done with the shin splints and the calcification. I don't think we want to do that. We should go in there, get a decent halfback, or simply just pay for a fullback. Get a Kyle Walker-Peters and simply plug Trent into the midfield. End of story. The other thing we can do... Sorry?
I said that's a possibility as well, for sure, but we're going to have to...
the other thing we can do is to face the Robbo issue. That is, get a left centre-back, go 3 back, and then simply Robbo becomes surplus to requirements. That's another conversation we can have. Because for most of the season, he's been part of the problem, but he has escaped scrutiny. For some reason, the fans of Liverpool love his attitude so much that when he's found wanting on the pitch, nobody wants to talk about it, because most of the time he gets caught up pressing up the pitch, and when there's a defensive transition, he's nowhere to be found. Most of the goals we have conceded this preseason has been due to his lack of being there to compact the defense, basically the high line, compact the high line when Trent moves up. and it should be sorted out. I don't know what the coaches are telling them. I obviously I'm not there, but basically from my uneducated eye, and I've been watching Liverpool for 47 years, so as educated as uneducated I am, I think part of the problem is that when we are in defensive transition, we have no shield in front of the back four, and we have only two central defenders defending that whole line because Robertson is nowhere to be found, and it should be addressed.
No, that's a fair thing. That's a fair issue. That's a fair issue. For
Otherwise,
sure.
we'll pay a terrible price. Against our first 4 matches are against Chelsea, against Bournemouth, against Aston Villa, and then Newcastle. All 4 teams have fast wingers who can expose us. Remember how Danjuma exposed us in Bournemouth. But these guys, Newcastle, for me, Newcastle is the most frightening prospect. Going to Tyneside with all those guys that they have, Tonali, Bruno G, a refurbished Joe Linton, Almiron, and Isaac, who is very good at breaking lines. We have to have a decent halfback. It's just untenable and really frightening that we're going to go there. And those of us who have,
I think I have a solution though, Albert. I started a super chat earlier on, and Michael Kilban says we should go to Brighton and sign whoever they've brought in to replace Caicedo. No, he'll be just as good.
Well, I'll tell you who they brought in to replace Caicedo. He's called Dahoud.
Chelsea have already done it. He's
called Dahoud.
We were actually linked with him before he went to Dortmund, weren't we?
Yeah, the guy they brought in is called Dahoud, and he's very good.
Yeah, he's not that guy.
Not as good as Caicedo, though, is he?
No, but the guy that Brighton brought.
No, he's not as good as
Caicedo.
But he played very well in the summer series. He played. Look, my brothers, we simply just needed a halfback.
Oh yeah.
If it's not Caicedo, go get Sangare. Actually, get Alex Scott if he's not yet gone. Get anybody, but get a halfback.
No.
We can't improv. We can't do a Saturday night at the improv when the season starts. That would be a problem. That would simply be a problem.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think we get Lavie in. Whether he starts the season with him in there or not is another thing.
Yeah, the Lavia question. I think 45 million does it, because as people in the chat have earlier said, it's the difference between what they paid and what they are selling. That's what they are paying the 20% on. And if you do the calculation, 45 million minus the 14 that they paid, if you take 20% of it, you are at 39 million. I'm sure they'll do a deal for 45. So we should stop the penny pinching. We are not always going to pull teams' pants down. We are not always going to get an Alexis McAllister. Sometimes you have to take the hit and move on, because we caused this ourselves. We didn't plan for the exit. Yeah.
A lot of love in the chat for Albert tonight.
When you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
There's no doubt about it. I think we've definitely stored up this problem with the midfield for sure, and the fact that it's been compounded with Henderson and Fabinho leaving a year early has exposed the real hole that we've got to fix. And it's not so much. I don't have a problem with Curtis Jones. Don't have a problem with Stefan Bajcetic. I think they're going to be top players. I honestly do. Harvey Elliott as well, but he's not that player. You definitely need someone in the 6, but I don't think you're going to replace Fabinho with one player. You have to be looking at bringing in 2,
and that's why.
But that's the job.
Yeah, we need to complete the signing. We need to complete the signing of the kid from Brazil really quickly, because he's a very good player. I watch Brazilian league because I have Paramount Plus, and they have both the Argentine league and the Brazilian league. He's a really, really good player, and he's the kind of player that we want, because what he does is Fluminense play a kind of game where they are very loaded up front, so they leave a lot of spaces behind. Even their center backs attack. So anytime they have like they are in defensive transition, he's the one who runs back and tries to get the ball, win the ball off the opposing attackers. And I think he'll be very good for the Klopp system. I've heard all kinds of things like he's not tall enough. Well, Mascherano played for us. How tall was Mascherano? It's what the guy brings in his feet. It's not what he brings in with his head.
Yeah.
So we should finish that transaction very early, because otherwise we find ourselves that he's going to go to Porto, and within a year, 18 months to 2 years, Jorge Mendes is selling him for 100 million. Then we are looking to buy at that time.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Listen, I think there's definitely fuel with that one. I think there's no way that Liverpool get linked with a player from Fluminense and there's not legs in it. You know, it's just an out there kind of a player. You always get clubs like to be linked with, having Liverpool linked with their players. But it's unusual for that kind of a link to come from Brazil. So I definitely think there's something in that. Honestly, hands up. Yeah. I've never seen him play. I don't know anything about him. But I've listened to so many interviews now with him.
Just go to Google and watch him.
No, I refuse to do that anymore, because even El Hadj Diouf look good on YouTube.
Oh, there are mention him in here. Jesus,
there are limits.
What are you doing?
We need, you know what? We need to separate the attitude of players from their abilities. El Hadj Diouf had a lot of ability. It's just his attitude.
But you know what I mean. I don't watch YouTube clips of players for a reason. But when Tim Vickery does the amount of interviews he does and what he's said is basically echoing what you just said, Albert.
Yeah,
he could be.
I actually spend time because luckily for me, I'm retired now. So I actually spend time watching the games. Every time I hear about a player, I go in and watch it. Remember there's another guy in Argentina who was linked with us called Alan Varela. I was watching Varela because he plays for Boca Juniors, and I was a little concerned because I thought he was slow. And I think the scouts have figured out that he's a tad slow. And if he comes to play for Liverpool, he will be found wanting with his sprint speed. And that will be a problem for us. So anyway.
Albert, do you watch us all the time?
Sorry?
Do you watch us all the time?
Why do you think I'm calling you?
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm just saying. I think we need to you need to become like our South. I think Keith Plunkett might be under pressure here as being the South American correspondent for the
Anytime. I watch you guys.
And look, I'm gonna say here, thanks for the super chat, Michael. €5 for the good point about Brighton, but also we do also have another resident, Albert or Bertie. And he says he always thought that he was the Albert that knew football, but Albert wipes the floor with me. So thanks for calling in, Albert.
Thank you, my brothers. Thank you.
We'll hopefully see you again.
Lovely.
And I'm going to move on to, we're at 11 here.
Yeah,
we're going to have to wrap it up soon.
I watch you all the time, so
fair play to you, Albert.
Good man. Thanks, man.
Talk to you soon.
Enjoy the day.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Gav will be going nuts. I've got Chris T here. I'm going to leave Laszlo till the end to see if he sorted out his sound. But I'm going to add Chris in here.
Good evening, everybody.
What's the story, Chris?
How are we?
I saw you messing with your camera there earlier on. Are you going to be coming on camera, or you were in some big mansion there?
Stay off camera. Nobody wants to see my ugly mug.
What do you think of the transfers? Lack thereof, or will we get in enough?
I'm a bit concerned, really. We've let 7 or 8 players go. We've only got 2 in at the moment, possibly another 2 on the way if Lavia and the guy from Brazil gets concluded. I've been looking at the net spend of FSG over the last 3-4 years, and what you're finding is there's a ballpark figure of around 40 to 60 million pound net spend. Now, you compare that to an Aston Villa over the same period. Their net spend goes from £2 million to £150 million. So they're actually spending more net-wise. And I think that is testament to the job that Jurgen Klopp's doing, because he's having to sell players to bring more players in. and he's not given the free rein that maybe other managers and other clubs that are given. And I'm just wondering if he was given the backing that Mr. Bowley's gave Chelsea since he came in. I'm just wondering where Liverpool would be in that regard.
I think you got to look at.
Go
sorry,
ahead, Kev.
Emmet.
No, go on.
I was going to say you can't judge anything off Chelsea because Chelsea are an absolute basket case. They don't even. I don't think Chelsea know. I don't know what they want to achieve short term. Long term, you could definitely see the vision at the club. When you look at what Aston Villa have spent over recent years, they're obviously have newish owners and they want to progress the club. The one thing that Aston Villa and clubs who spend big, and you see it in the odd window here and there, they don't have the same wage outgoings as what we do as well. When you combine the two, our wage bill is very high. But at the same time, that's what you want because of the way the structure is. We still compete fairly well in transfers for what we get out of it. Yeah, everyone would love to spend more. No doubt about it. We'd love to have that. I'd love to be able to come on and do a show about a new 50, 60, 70 million pound holding midfielder that the club just went and got. I'd love nothing more than Liverpool turn around and slap a 90 million pound bid for Caicedo and just say, right, we're taking him. But the odds of it happening, I'm not going to, I can't invest too much of my time and worry about it because I just don't see it happening in the immediate future. So, I have to deal with where we are. And Klopp knows the budgets. He knows how the club works. He knows how FSG work. And he's constantly extended his contract. So, at the end of the day, he's happy with where he is.
Yeah,
is what it is, I suppose.
I agree with Kev, and you said what I was going to say, and I'm not suggesting, Chris, that this is what you were saying, but there's lots of people out there, including some people in WhatsApp groups that I'm in, is that how are we getting outspent by Aston Villa? How are we getting outspent? So yes, they're probably spending more on transfers, but when it comes to actually paying, I think our wage bill is the second highest. I think it's about 185 million a year. We also spend money on other stuff other than wages. So it's like everybody looks at the amount of money that a club earns, but we have a hell of a lot more. Like just because we bring in, say, 500 million a year, it doesn't mean that you have 500 million to spend on transfers. It goes elsewhere. We've had a stadium, you've got staff, match day staff, you've got all of these people. That all comes out of the same budget. It's not like one budget for that and then another budget for transfers. In terms of Chelsea, I agree, wouldn't be comparing ourselves to them. I think Klopp thrives under these. When has Klopp ever had an endless checkbook? He never has. Dortmund, he wouldn't have had it either. He would have been under a lot of restrictions.
Dortmund would have been more extreme.
He actually thrives, and like we need to be careful what we wish for as well, because you look at Manchester United. Ten Hag has come in and spent 450 in the last year. I don't think they're any better going into this season than they were last season. I really, really don't. Who else has spent lots of money? You've got Arsenal. Arsenal need to win something. We've already said that. So
Tottenham has spent. Tottenham have spent 136 million.
I mean, there's no Liverpool fan out there that will think that no, we're okay the way we are. Long and short of it, FSG need to spend more. That's it. Do they need to spend hundreds of millions more? No, I think it was Albert on the last. Albert made a point that we might need to spend 120 million a window. I don't even think we need to spend that a window. What I think is we need to say, right, well, where are we here? So, okay, we've got Fabinho's legs are gone, whatever. Let's throw it. We'll just buy a midfielder. And I'm talking last year, 40, 50 million. And you're just topping it up and in different areas to the point where you don't get to a window like this where you have to have a rebuild. You should never have to have a rebuild. It pains me to say it, but the best person ever at it was probably Ferguson. Ferguson would have no problem in getting rid of a player and then just bringing it, and he just constantly topped up and topped up and topped up. Sorry, it was Gary. Sorry, Albert. Apologies. It was Gary. That said the 120 million. But Ferguson was a master at just topping up his squad, just ticking it, keeps it ticking over. we kind of stood still for maybe 2-3 windows. I think we're probably 2 or 3 windows behind where we should be. So I'd have no problem if we just in January there's 50 million on left back, right back, centre back, whatever. In the summer we maybe lose 2, bring in 2. Like I have no issues with the whole net spend thing as well, as long as we're just topping up and keeping the squad fresh.
You can't if you stand still. We stood still for one window. We stood still for one window, and that one window we're chasing our tails for it. You know, Shawnee's at pains quite often and saying on the channel that we're one behind, or we're a player behind. We're actually probably a window behind. But
I think 2.
But the argument that will always be thrown at you is we won the league that year. You know, and it's just one of those things that there's no point in saying we should have, would have, could have. We didn't. And we are where we are today. And we have to deal with that from tomorrow onwards. There's no point in wishing that we did or we kept players or wishing that we'd assigned someone. It doesn't matter. That time is gone. You have to deal with the situation of where you are. We have to bring in at least 2 6s. And if you can replace and upgrade a defender in the process before the end of the window, you have to do it. Because ultimately, FSG, any club owner, needs to finish in the Champions League because that's where the real money is. You're not going to make massive amount of money winning the Europa League. You know, you have to be in the Champions League to be able to sustain real growth. And to get back in there, you're not going to get back into the Champions League on the cheap. You're just not. You can take gambles in certain positions because we have strength in certain positions. But we can't gamble in the middle of the park. Not when you've got so many players who are really young and learning their craft. You can't expect Curtis Jones, Stefan Bajcetic, Harvey Elliott to be carrying your midfield if you have ambitions to go and win. So even Romeo Lavia, you can't expect those 4 at an average age of 20, 21 to carry you to win silverware. It's just not fair on them. And it's not going to progress them any further.
See, that's one of my concerns going into this season is the amount of leadership that we've lost out that dressing room. It could become an issue. And also, I think we've missed the boat on a player that's about to sign for Bournemouth, Alex Scott. I think he would have been a decent signing for us. It would have been £25 million, I think Bournemouth are getting him for. And I think he would be a player, maybe over time, he could have became a really good signing for Liverpool.
No, I'm not having Alex Scott. And the simple reason is I know where he's coming from in Bristol City. I've watched a lot of Bristol City over the years. He's a really good player, but he's not anywhere. He's very similar to Carvalho. We don't play with that. We don't play a game to get what you need to get out of an Alex Scott. Bournemouth will play him in a 10 role and put 2 players behind him in Billings and one other, and let him have the freedom to go and play and support a striker. He's a good player. He could be an absolute worldie if he develops, but he's been linked with Wolves and Bournemouth for a reason. He's not ready for that kind of a move yet. And I've watched a fair bit of him. I like him a lot, and I hope Bristol City take as much money as humanly possible off Bournemouth, but he's not the player we need. 100% he's not. Sorry, I know enough about him to say that he's not the fix.
Are you a wee bit concerned about the leadership out the dressing room?
No, not really, because you still look at the likes of Alisson Becker. You look at the spine of the team. Alisson, Virgil van Dijk, up front with Mo Salah. Robertson is a captain of his country. Cody Gakpo has captained his club in Holland at 21, 22. Szoboszlai is the national captain and a former club captain. I'm not worried about leadership. I'm not worried about character. I'm worried about experience in the middle of the park. Games of football are won and lost in the midfield. Always have been, always will be, no matter what formation you play, no matter what tactics you set up. Games of football are won and lost in midfield. So we have to get this month of the transfer window right. Otherwise, we're going to be in for a helter-skelter season where we're going to have plenty of 5-4s and 4-3s and 6-1s. We're not going to have many 1-0s. You know, it's going to be edge of your seat stuff, football. But ultimately, you don't win silverware playing that way.
No,
what do you think? We go on. Did you have another question, Chris?
No, it's fine.
No. So I was going to ask you a question. So because I'd be conscious to get Laszlo in, if he has his sound fixed. What do you think will get done by the close of the window?
I think we'll get Lavia in, but I'm a wee bit uncertain where we'll get Lavia plus another midfielder. I think we'll go to defence after Lavia, and that would probably be the business done after Lavia plus maybe a central defender. And I think that'll be it.
Well, so I'm kind of a little bit similar to you, but not in terms of the leadership. So I think new leaders will naturally will rise at the club. And like Kev said, we've got a lot of people that are actually captains of their countries or have been captains before. My concern is around experience in midfield. And I know Gav thinks, yeah, he'd be grand with throwing Lavia in there. Just let's see how it goes. But we've got Becetic, who's only a young fella who could play there. We've got Lavia, who's only going to be young as well. What happens if neither of them work out? I think I'm more leaning towards two midfielders rather than a midfielder and a centre back. So I'd like to see us bring in a little bit of experience in midfield. Somebody asked for it earlier on. I've been saying Højbjerg for the last 2 weeks. It was half tongue in cheek, but I think that's the type of player. I think initially I meant to say it as a Højbjerg type of player. But I think we need a destroyer, somebody that's played that position, has experience of playing that position, quite possibly in the Premier League. But it's just, I would have ideally liked to see Fabinho nurture Lavia into the position. But now we've got Fabinho gone. So who does it if Lavia doesn't kind of hit the ground running? That's my fear.
Yeah.
Well, I hear a lot of people criticising and saying that Curtis Jones could be playing there at the start of the season if Lavia doesn't come in.
And I think, like somebody said earlier on as well, that it is quite possible at this stage that Curtis Jones starts in the 6 against Chelsea. Now, when there was rumours that Fabinho was going and Henderson, we didn't know whether Henderson was going or not. I had shivers down my spine at thinking that maybe Henderson might start there. I probably would feel worse about Jones starting there. And that's not me digging Jones out. He's not that type of player. And I know he's played under 21s in the Euros for England there. But I just watching him the other day, I was literally on me. He had I didn't have a nail left on my finger watching him there. He's really I thought he was too relaxed, and it was just like, it's move the ball a little bit quicker, please. He looked confident on the ball, but it just, to me, it was like an accident waiting to happen. It was like he was going to get caught out. I don't mind him losing the ball further up the pitch, but losing the ball on the edge of your 18-yard box is probably one of the worst places you could lose the ball in football. Losing it on their 18-yard box, okay, you have plenty of time to recover, but not losing it on your own 18-yard box.
It's not his natural game. I mean, he came through the club system as a winger, converted into a 10, converted back into an 8. I think he can do a job in a 6, but I think it's the kind of job you do away to some side from Bulgaria in the Europa League. Do you play him in the 6? You know, you don't. It's a real tough ask, but I don't think there's anyone else available at the club at the minute that can do that role. So it's needs must at the minute. The only one that we haven't looked at all is the fact that Thiago can do that role as well. If you're looking for someone, he's not going to screen the ball, screen the centre back pairing, but he can definitely progress the play from deeper. You know, so you still need to get 2 in 100%. And I agree with you when you were talking about Højbjerg. Højbjerg is being strongly linked to Atletico Madrid for 30 million. And at the end of the day, Atletico Madrid look for that type of player because of the way they play. And he'll do a good job there. I mean, I'll go back a good while now, and you remember Real Madrid, when Real Madrid, out of nowhere, went and signed Thomas Gravesen from Everton. And it was like, how the hell did that kind of come up? Because it came up because he was a destroyer in the middle of the park to back up. I think it was Cambiasso who was there at the time. And, you know, you need that type of player too, to come in and break the play up, give it to someone who can pass the ball, and just go and evolve the play. It doesn't have to be a world beater. It doesn't have to be a superstar. It needs to be a destroyer. That's why I said a while back, Amrabat would be ideal to do that job. He can do that job left, right, and center. But I don't think I don't know. It's. I want to see what happens over the next few weeks because we need movement. 100% we need movement.
Well, I heard Klopp complain about the window in Saudi Arabia is open a bit longer.
That's just life, I'm afraid. At the end of the day, there's different leagues all over the world that have different transfer windows, and some are open and some are closed. And
I think it was
the Saudi Arabian one is 3 weeks after ours. Clubs are just going to have to be tough in their stance to say, look, unless we can bring the player in to replace you, you're not going. Simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. They've got to take a tough stance. And I think going back to the number 6 position, I think you need someone with good game intelligence and good positional sense. If they've not got that positional sense to know where to be on the, I'll go back to, I support Rangers as well. And Davy Weir used to play for Rangers. He was 37, 38 at the time. He didn't have the pace, but he had the intelligence to know where to be and where to position himself. And to have a good number 6, you need someone with good game intelligence plus good positional sense to know where to be to cut out the danger.
Yeah.
AK Artist there said Amrabat is bang average with a Hobbit ceiling. Okay, fair enough. Rather take a chance on potential. I'd rather take both.
Yeah, I would agree.
Point.
I think Lavia
can't be one or the other.
Like Amrabat. Yeah,
has to be both. Have to be looking at two.
Oh,
yeah.
Gav is in the chat giving out to us. So, Chris, thanks for coming on. Do you listen all the time?
Yeah, I subscribed to you about 3 months ago, and I've been tuning in. And I thought I'd jump on tonight. And thank you very much for having me on.
Pleasure,
lads. Thank you.
Fair play to you. We'll chat to you
Cheers,
again.
mate. Thanks for coming on. Take care.
Bye.
We'll give Laszlo.
Give Laszlo the last word.
Laszlo.
Well, lads, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
How's the farm?
Yeah, I can.
Good man.
Quiet.
I'm really sorry for holding you up, lads. It's just
no, you're grand. We've got the nod from the boss there, so.
Yeah, I'm very conscious of Gav. I know what he's like.
What do you want to see happen over the next 4 weeks, Laszlo? Or what do you not what you want to happen? What do you think will happen over the next 4 weeks?
There's nothing much I can add to what everyone else said before. I think it's pretty obvious what we need. We need this Lavia deal was going to be done before we lost Fabinho Henderson. That wasn't on the cards. This 8 out 2 in thing. We lost 3 boys everyone wanted to get rid of anyway. Screaming to get rid of Box, screaming to get rid of Keita, screaming to get rid of Milner, screaming to get rid of Henderson. They're all gone. We brought in Spotsai, Henderson, or McAllister. So now it's Lavia was going to be the future. Fabinho was going to be there with him. That's what should have been happening. Then this crap comes along. They throw a bomb in on our plans. Right, now all of a sudden there's multiple fires to be put out. The Lavia deal was to be done. Some deals take a long time, some deals they don't. This Lavia thing, I don't think it's why are we haggling over 2 million? We're obviously not, because we wouldn't take this long. There's obviously other stuff going on. So we get that done. But I think we've been 8-balled by 2 things. One is this Saudi stuff, robbing us of basically starting the end with Fabinho Bajsedic, Lavia, lovely stuff, sitting either side of him whenever they need to be. And then the next thing you know, all of a sudden, the DM market is the new striker. DMs are now 80, 90 million. Like Declan Rice, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo. These are 50, 60 million pound players.
Yeah.
They're also
And
thin on the ground.
Two of them that you mentioned, Laszlo, Enzo and Caicedo, were both only 10 million last summer. I think Caicedo was actually less.
They bought Enzo for 10 million.
Yeah.
He played about 6 games. He went to the World Cup. He came back and they sold him for 106 million. He was at Benfica for 5 minutes. Caicedo was turned down by Man United for 3.2 million because there was too many agents in the room and they didn't like the smell of it. So he walked away. He went to Brighton. Brighton signed him for 3.5. These boys were out, like it's do you take the risk, do you take the chance? Man United were slagged off for not buying it. Caicedo went to Brighton for no money. But all of a sudden, Chelsea walk into the room and do that. Arsenal pay that money for Rice. Now you're looking at, I said Amrabat, okay, he has eyes for United. These are the kind of bridging players we needed. Don't tell me no serious football club, no serious football manager looks at Lavia and goes, yeah, we can do a 19-year-old at the end for the season. Let's go to City. Let's just throw that pressure on. Like the thing about Andre, I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned, comes down to dehumanization of footballers. I love Uncle Albert, but he was talking about how he played in this system. You're talking about a 20-year-old kid that's never played outside of Brazil, goes 6,000 miles, moving to a new country, a new language. This shit can take time. These guys aren't robots. You don't take them from one system and put them in the other and go, now he works. He's a 20-year-old kid from Brazil, never played outside South America, moved to Liverpool and I know Albert, they live in America. They don't realize the pressure these kids are under from the media. Straight away, oh, you're Liverpool's new sign. Look at Hoyland. We're all slagging him off. He's getting killed before he's even moved to Man United. If he doesn't kick in and straight away scoring goals, he's a failure. The pressure these kids are under at 18, 19.
Nunes.
Yeah, you can't ask Lavia to walk into a club the size of Liverpool. You're our starting number 6 now. I get what Gav is saying. Look, you need serious experience. Lads who've been there, done that. And experience does not mean age. You can be a 25-year-old experienced footballer who's been, like Fabinho went all the way to the Champions League semi-final with that Monaco team, won Ligue 1 with that Monaco team. That's not Andre. I mean,
yeah, no, it's fair.
Do you know what I'm saying? This isn't like, it's obvious. Robbo can't play left-sided centre-back. Stop slagging Robbo off. This is the system, and people are talking about Klopp. This isn't Klopp. This is Pep Lindner's play. The Buvac, the brain left. This whole box 3 thing. We do it. We use Trent. Man City do it. They use John Stones. I think it's kind of interesting. But Arsenal do it with Zinchenko. They use a left back. City use a centre back. We use a right back. And it's all about creating that box 4v3 in midfield because they want, that's the thing now. That's what people are doing now. Potts is trying to do it. But we do it with Trent. They do it with Stones. Someone else does it with Zinchenko. Stop slagging Robbo off because he doesn't fit into that system. We don't have an Ake. He's the casualty in this system. It's not that we need to start with 3, but this is where we're going now. And I think we are going too fast on this because we don't have the players to fit it out properly. And we're trying to force it in now. And some of the guys are right. Like, we are leaving the same gaps. But Trent goes in, he inverts. That's what Pep Lindner. This isn't Klopp. This is Pep Lindner.
Oh, no. Don't buy into that nonsense. Klopp is the manager.
Well,
he's the manager, but he gives. I'm not saying he's running the team. I'm saying this is. He said, look, he's the coach. Let's come up with new tactical shit. Klopp knows he's not the world's greatest tactical innovator. He brings in the guys who like, what can we do? Okay, you give me the system, I'll make it work. I'm the manager. I'll make these guys do it. But the likes of Linders are the guys coming up with these new systems. So I'm saying sorry, Kev, I 100% agree with you. I just mean the people that are slagging Klopp off for not knowing what he's doing. What's he asking Trent to do this for? Like, it isn't just Klopp.
Oh no, it's a whole. I mean, that's what it gets. I mean, we'll finish up in a minute because I mean, I've got to get to bed soon. But it's when people slag FSG and Klopp and what have, it's literally they're all in this together. They get all the praise when things go right, and they'll get the flack when things go wrong. I'm not into this. It's FSG. It's Klopp. It's Lindis.
No, not at all. Me neither.
Blair.
I'm not.
No, I know you're not, in fairness. But it's literally, they're all in this together. They all buy into it. And the problem you get is if you don't get total buy-in from the players and the staff, it won't work. This is still only really and truly 20 games, less 18 games that we've seen this inverted system playing.
Yeah, what last 6 games last season, maybe?
Yeah, well, 11, we saw it firsthand when we were over there, Emmet, and it was like, it was weird, but you could see the benefits of it as well as the risks of it. There's huge benefits to be had from this, like I said, and look, I think we're going to score a hatful of goals. I also think that Alisson Becker is going to be a serious player for us next year.
Well, one thing I'll say with this is Trent has always been Klopp's pet project, and Trent has always needed a babysitter. Klopp has always looked at Trent and gone, "Oh my God, you're fucking unbelievable. You're just ridiculous. How can I get the best out of you? I want you up and down the wing. Right, let's get you up and down the wing." So needs a babysitter. Henderson drops in, works his bollocks off, never gets the credit, covers Trent all day long. That's what you needed there. Now when he goes in, it has to be that right side of the centre back that's coming along, and people say, "Oh, how can you do this? How can you do that?" That's the modern game, boys. That right-sided centre back. As much as people saying, "Oh, you can't ask him," he is going to be asked to do that. You now have 2 jobs. So that guy that plays in the Canale position with his fitness record.
We'll finish it up there now, Laszlo. The only thing I'd say to you is Kanata has to cover that space. But the flip of that is Robertson has to be selective about when he goes and when he doesn't. If he has to get his position right to give Virgil and Kanate less area to cover.
I don't think we can do it, Robbo. That's I just think he's the next one that will be the chess piece.
But I don't think that's going to be something that's going to be addressed this summer. I think
that's the problem. I think if we'd had less fires, if we hadn't had these midfield fires to put out, we would have been able to do that.
I think you'd have addressed it more. I think you'd address it more this summer with Costas going out the door rather than Robertson.
Oh, he needs to go. Well, if we don't need one left-sided fullback, we don't need 2.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't be too focused on what's happening on the right. I'm more.
Listen, I won't keep you.
What's going on the right?
I won't.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Thanks for having me on, lads.
Cheers, lads. Lovely to speak to you, mate. Take it steady.
Yeah, great to talk to you too. Thanks, lads.
Cheers, man. Take it steady.
Right, Kev, we'll wrap it up. But I actually enjoyed that. Believe it or not, hand on heart, I'd never done one of these before. I've watched the lads doing them before, and I thought, oh God, and I've actually really enjoyed it. It's been 2 hours. Gav is going to have our goods for Carters, but I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for everybody that's called in. Thanks for everybody in the chat. I think a lot of the callers talked an awful lot of sense. And they made the show, I have to say.
Oh, 100%. We came into this completely unscripted. I'll probably do it
again. Yeah, I'll probably
do it again. I would as well. We came into this completely unscripted, no plans of what to talk about. So as usual, everything is driven by the conversations in the chat. So
absolutely,
thanks to everyone who's in there. Listen, press like, hit the subscribe button, tell people about it, share it in your socials. But more importantly than that, the link for the charity is in the description below. It's for the Ashburn GA Club, who I think it's 12 women are running the Dublin Marathon, training 6 nights a week. They're nearly at the target of €20,000. We're, I think, only a few grand short of it. So If you can donate, please do. If not, share it on your socials, share it in your WhatsApp groups, and you never know who it's going to touch. If you can, brilliant. We're trying to raise money for cancer awareness, so anything that can be done, please just share it. It would really help us a lot.
And just to address what's been spoken about in the chat there, Gav did see it. He did see it. It's in a WhatsApp group that we're in there now. So look, we'll find out who that is. I can't believe that's like of all the call-in shows they've done, it's us two that have to get stung with that.
I know. Listen, on a lighter note, breaking news: Everton have leapfrogged Tottenham and West Ham in the race to sign Manchester United and England defender Harry Maguire. It just gets fucking better, doesn't it?
Right. Well, look, we'll wrap it up. Kev. I really, really enjoyed that. I have to say.
I mean, mate, really
2 hours. We're still at 283. It's starting to drop. It was above 300 there, all the way up until about 2 minutes ago. So look, thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to all of the callers. I think me and Kev will probably do one of these again. But like Kev said, yous make it in the chat and the callers make it as well. So look, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll see you again another time on the call-in show. Good night.